Most people are good. Some people are bad. But you're the rare gift.
She's so complicated. We start off as Anna as a child, actually, in the beginning of the film. And so we see her progress from a young child into a woman. She's a woman with extreme trauma who's sort of was taken in by someone who raised her. She lost her family, and she's sort of trying to cope and deal with her loss throughout the film. So she's making the best of it and really trying to make it through.
I think Moody was a spook in Vietnam, running around doing undercover ops and all this other stuff. So when he discovers her, as part of one of those kind of ops, and he realizes, well, it's hard not to realize, that, okay, this is a different kind of child, it's a different kind of person. And some way, somehow, he pulls her into his, world. Even though she was already in it, she had a capacity for doing, these violent things without even knowing she had the capacity. So he nurtured that part of her, but he also sent her to these great schools and took care of her. Becomes essentially a father figure for her, even in the midst of all the stuff, bad stuff that goes on. And their relationship is pretty solid. He doesn't stay around her very much. He only, sees her when he needs her. Just kind of a cold thing, but it works. Works for them. Works in their world. So he's that guy. He's not necessarily a fixer, but he's a get it done guy.
He's a mysterious kind of character. What you see isn't always what you get, and then it turns out it's exactly what you get. He's intelligent and realistic in that he totally understands and accepts the world in which he lives, and which is, in this picture, a dangerous world. He lives among other assassins. And it was really fun to play. He's very physical, but he only is physical if he absolutely has to be. He just happens to be pretty good at it.
He's a father figure to her. He's her second father, so she lost her father as a young kid. And so he takes her in and becomes this really role model for her, but it's a little more complex because he's also her partner when she becomes an adult, and they're friends, but there's also this, there's this father-daughter relationship. So it's a really beautiful connection they have, and I'm so glad it was Sam because, you don't always have connection with people, right? And with Sam, I knew it would be there. And then when we met, it was kind of immediate that we did have this this connection in that way. And so, it made, time on set a lot easier because I think that flow was really natural for us.
I never see Michael in the movies we're in together. I think we've only done one movie where we actually physically talk to each other. Or we're in the same frame. One of those times when he shot my ass and I fell down on the floor and he's looking at me. But Maggie was amazing. I've watched her enough on television, in the series, to see her attack, all the things she had to do. Among the physical things she had to do, she also had all this psychological baggage she had to carry around, which was amazing to watch. Robert Patrick, man, that was so funny because the day I came to work and he was there, and I was like, Robert Patrick. Like I say, there are actors that you watched that you've always said to yourself, what would I do in a situation like this with that particular actor? And I watched Robert for so long, and it was a joyous occasion to walk up on that set and see him that day. He greeted me like he'd known me forever, and I pretty much felt the same way. I've watched him work, I've enjoyed it, and now I have, my Robert Patrick moment where I can sit and say, wow, I was in a scene with Robert Patrick. I worked with Robert Patrick. Awesome.
Michael Keaton is a legend. He really is. And what I loved about their chemistry in this movie is that, it wasn't physical. They're playing a game of wits. And she's highly intelligent, and so is he. And I don't think he's ever met his match in the way that he does with her in this film. And I think that is sort of the crux of their relationship. It's who's going to get ahead of the other and how are they going to do it. And they both know that they're both capable of it. So it's that game, it's that constant game, and you never really know what's going to happen with them until literally the end of the film. You still, up to the last second, you don't know who's going to make what decision. And it becomes a really exciting type of romance. I hate to even call it a romance. It's better than that, I think.
Maggie Q is something to watch in this movie, man. She's, she's very pretty and has these scenes where she's quite feminine, and then she just beats the shit out of a bunch of guys. And it's really fun to watch. I think little young girls are going to enjoy this a lot. And it's fun. The action is fun. And she's so good at it. I was lucky to do well over half my stunts in here, which is always fun because when you're a little kid, this is what you want to do. But there was just stuff that there are stunt doubles who just better than I am at doing it, and I'd be a fool not to let them shoot some of those shots better than I can. So there's always something to learn when you're doing stunt work, and it's different for almost every movie where I've had to do stunts.
I think going in, I certainly was excited to be with this person who had a standard of action that was, I looked up to in such a huge way. But funnily enough, I also my own standard was really tough, and I was even pushing even for more than he was. And so there was a lot of prep, obviously a lot of rehearsals, a lot of I had different doubles come in and out because, there was just certain things that one could do that others couldn't do in terms of the prep for action. But I have one of the biggest stunts of my career in this movie, and I have to say, there's only been 2 times in my life where I've been had fear right before a stunt. Only twice. Once in Die Hard and once in this movie, and that's huge for me because I'm not really scared. I'm not a person who has fear when it comes to jumping off of buildings or whatever, but in this one, I really was like, whoa. And you also, as you get older, you're getting older every year, and then you're still doing these crazy things, and you're like, should I still be doing this? Sometimes people have to save me from myself in this genre, but I was able to do stuff that I haven't done in my entire career in this movie, and so for that I'm pretty proud of, with one of the best action directors in the world.
What happens is, at first it's just a job, and it looks like I'm just going to show up and I've got this well in hand, because Rembrandt's done this kind of thing a lot. Basically gets hired to come in and be the cleanup man, and do whatever he has to do to make sure the job gets done. So he realizes real early, because he's very intelligent and his instincts are really good. When he sees some of the damage she's done, he thinks to himself, oh, this is going to be harder for everybody than they thought. Because they kind of think, this will be easy, we'll just take her out. And I realize, they don't realize who they're dealing with. So I'm intrigued by that. Rembrandt is intrigued by that. And then he's attracted to her. And, he can kind of compartmentalize those two things. And then it becomes more and more difficult for him to compartmentalize them, because then he'd like to see this thing probably go into another level. So already it's not a relationship you see a lot in movies like this, which made it fun for me.
Yeah, geez. I think that the movie in its totality was a challenge for me. Everything, it's sort of like the culmination of everything I've already done in my career, but not at this level, right? So the heightened emotion, the heightened action, all of the complex relationships, the smart romance that kind of goes on in it. There's nothing worse to me than a kind of a dumbed down connection between two people. I want to see really that sort of fireworks chemistry that comes from real intelligence from two people who are playing a game. That to me is very interesting on screen. And so that this movie definitely had.
I'd really like to see you again under different circumstances.
These are the best circumstances you'll ever see me in.